Hi everyone, and welcome to Energetic Conversations. We are doing something slightly different today. We are having a question and answer session just to mix things up a little bit, because we realize that a lot of the conversations we have are about a certain topic, and you guys might want to know a little bit about us, and we'd like to share a little bit more about us and just have something a bit more fun today. So I'm gonna let Daniel in. Bear with me a second. When he requests to join. Perfect. Hello.
Hey,
How
how
are
are
you
you?
doing? I'm okay, thank you. I'm a little bit tired. My brain is not fully functioning right now, but I feel like in a way, sometimes, when you're a little bit tired, intuition and some bolder answers can come through because I'm not trying to inhibit too much.
Yeah,
So yeah, let's go with the tiredness for a bit. How
yeah,
are
I hear
you?
you. I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I probably feel a little bit similar. I've got some when the headache's like about to start
Yeah.
coming on. So I feel that there's like a bit of pressure in the front cortex, I
Yes.
guess.
Cortex headache.
So yeah, but overall I'm feeling good, continuing to recover and yeah, I'm doing all right. Sun's out.
Yeah, that really, really helps. Well, I hope that today is fun. And also, I just want to say to everyone, if you have any questions for us, there's a little at the bottom right, there's like a sort of question, I don't know what it is, a speech bubble thing. I think if you click on that, you can ask us any question you want. And if we have time, we will come to that. So it probably won't be as long a session today as some of our previous ones have been. We want to switch it up a bit and do something a little bit more, a little bit lighter. So, but if you want to ask heavy questions, feel free. We will, if we can answer, we will answer. Um,
Yeah.
so today, what I'm using is a gift that someone gave me a while ago. It's by the School of Life, and it's called 100 Questions. And I swear, like, I have taken this to certain groups of people that had like energetic tensions between them, like certain family members. And this game, I would recommend it for people if you can get it, especially if you can get it quite cheap, because I'm not sure how much it was, but it really helps people to, like family members who assume that they know each other really well because they've spent years together. It actually helps them to actually get to know each other on like a human level without the family labels and things like that. I've seen people really, really bond and like actually form better connections, newer connections, and learn things about each other that they never knew. Because I feel like we get very stale, don't we? Like
Hmm.
in families, like, oh, well, I know you. I don't need to know anything else about you. I assume I know you. And actually, we really don't know people that well, and people change. And yeah,
Yeah. I think that's the thing. People change, and sometimes we're living out of outdated versions of people. And I think
yeah,
that particularly happens in family quite often.
exactly. And so, like, to switch things up, if you're like wanting a game that you can play with your family, or like just to kind of ease some energy, and like create a new vibrant energy, 100 questions, really, really good. I've seen it happen with my own eyes. So yeah, it can be really good. Okay, so I'm gonna like just pick random things. If a question's really crap, shall I pass on it?
You should pass on it. And I forgot to ask you before, because there are like, if it's crap, or if it's maybe too, if it's not the type of question we want to talk about right now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, all right.
You'll know what that is. You'll know what that is.
I'll try and use my discernment really quickly when I read it.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my God.
But
Growing
also
up,
go for it. But also go for it.
we've just gone straight into it, Daniel. Growing up, who was the favorite in your family?
Oh. So I'm gonna say it was DJ. And I feel like it was my older brother. I feel like my older brother was the favorite in the family, not just in my immediate family, but in the overall, like, with the cousins and everything like that. he's the oldest grandson on both sides of the
Wow.
family. In Jamaican, my dad's family is Jamaican. In Jamaican culture, the eldest son and like the first boy is, I mean, can do no wrong. Like literally can do no wrong. And so I feel like it's DJ. He would probably say it's like he'll probably say maybe it's me, but like or everyone will have someone else to say. But I'm gonna say it's my older brother DJ. Growing up, I think now it depends what parent you're with.
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you for answering that so honestly. So for me, growing up, who was the favorite in the family? It definitely wasn't me. I was the scapegoat, but I would say my brother he was the elder son, so he people like put him on a pedestal and thought he was great. But also my half sister, who is younger than me, I think she is definitely my stepmom's favorite. And so yeah. I'll leave it there.
I'll
don't want to go too deep.
And I'll probably clarify now because I feel like if my siblings watch this, they're gonna be like, I probably am my dad's favorite, to be honest. Like now, I probably am my dad's favorite.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably am. But yeah, I'll leave that there. I
probably
am my dad's favorite.
I actually think now I might be my dad's favorite, but we don't talk that much. But I get a vibe from him that like he's a lot easier with me than he is with other people. There's less of attention because in some ways we're quite similar. So it's like I now feel a bit more of that than I used to. So things change. Things do change because back in the day, I think for both of us things have changed because both of us had a challenging time growing up. But now things have changed. We stepped into ourselves. Exactly. So are you competitive, Daniel?
I am. I've been a competitive athlete the majority of my life. I was an 800-meter runner from the age of 14, and fortunate enough to have a very good running career. Was a Nike National U.S. champion my junior year of high school with my relay team, fastest in the country.
Wow.
There's just a part of me that is very competitive but competitive with myself. What I'm like? It's not like I'm like trying to compete with other people. I compete with myself, and the high school I went to was all about like performing at, being in excellence academically, athletically. I was fortunate to go to one of the best schools in the country. That's just like, I think I'm naturally like that, but then I was also in environments that groomed me to be that way as well. Yeah, exactly. So I would say I am competitive. But healthily competitive.
Yes, yeah. I feel like it's good to be competitive to a certain degree, or not good, but healthy. Like it's not a bad thing, but it's just when it kind of overflows and then becomes like a power hungry situation. But am I competitive?
How about you?
I used to be incredibly competitive, like literally. So when I was at school, I had to be the top of the class every time. If anyone else like beat me to it, I was devastated. I was competitive with them and I was competitive with myself. I did a lot of sports as well. I was a runner, competitive with the other people. I was, but now I have calmed down a lot. But I think that competitive side still sometimes peeks its little head out every now and again. But it's definitely, the more I've become comfortable with myself and my own pace and my own standards, that competitive side has like just chilled a little bit. So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I love these questions. Okay. Has a work of literature or art ever directly influenced your life?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I mean, greatly. I'm trying to think of which ones. I mean, there's so many. There are so many. Oh my gosh. A piece of literature or art. Wow. So literature that's changed my life. Let me just think on this list. Well, one, in terms of art, whether it's art, whether it's fashion, whether it's film, I'm very inspired by all of those mediums of expression. And so, I mean, fashion has changed my life. I mean, just looking at certain clothes, like I get such an inspiration and an energy from just looking at certain clothes, and looking at, I know there have been so many different models who've inspired me, Dominique Hollington, Chanel Iman, Jordan Dunn, Chanel, Naomi Campbell, Verushka, Twiggy, Cindy Crawford, Linda, Christy Turlington, Linda Evangelista, the whole 90s era of models, just looking, when I want inspiration, I literally go on YouTube and I type in Naomi Campbell catwalk compilation, and I just watch like 20 minutes of just Naomi Campbell on different catwalks. Like it just literally, it just does, like, it does something to me. And I'm just like, yo, like, after I watch that, I'm like, okay, I want to get back to the gym. I want to eat better. I want to read more. I want to like just, but I think watching anyone who's I consider to be great do what they are great at is very inspiring, So I would say, yeah. And then in terms of film, Jean-Luc Godard is one of my favorite directors. He's a director from the French New Wave era. Kia Le Fou with Anna Karina and Jean-Paul Belmondo. One of my favorite films. I remember watching that when I was like 18 or 19. And I looked at it and I was just like, I don't fully know what I'm watching, but I love it. And it's just like, it's hard to articulate how it impacts you, but it does. So that's just such a small, that's a big question for me. Probably is for both of us, but yeah, I'll leave that there for now.
I love that. It's like, even we haven't spoken about a lot of this stuff. So it's nice for me to like find that out about you, and like, I'm looking forward to finding out more about that whole side. I knew the fashion side, but the film, and that makes sense because you've got a background in media. So, you must have like a keen eye and sensitivity to that as well. So thank you for sharing that. For me, oh, go on. What were you going to say?
No, I was going to say, go for it.
Literature, of course, has changed my life because I'm a writer. I studied English and creative writing at university, and two books in particular really, really influenced me. So one is problematic now because it's like things about like colonial English culture is just not my thing. But Jane Eyre for me was like a huge, huge turning point in terms of like connecting with a piece of literature that was so moving, and I could so resonate with the character and the story. And then as I grew up, a few years later, I read The God of Small Things by Arundhati Roy. That for me was it just changed my entire world. Just the way that she writes, the world that she creates. I think for me, she allowed me to go deeper into my grief. And she spoke about a sister and a brother and their relationship and their sort of journey through difficult times. And it reminded me of me and my brother. And it was set in India, and that was just very inspiring for me. And I remember writing a lot for my degree after that was like heavily influenced by that book. In terms of art, yes, very influenced by art. I would say this may sound cliche, but I love this artist, but Frida Kahlo for me. Any artist or any writer that brings their grief and their vulnerability and their raw feminine energy, dark, divine, raw feminine energy to their work, I'm just like all over that shit. So I will leave it at that because there is so much, as I'm sure there is for you, but those three came to mind immediately.
Love it.
Okay, that's a crap question. I'm not going to ask that one. Are you good at saying you're sorry?
I think I am. I'm the type of person, I will apologize if I feel like I'm at fault. I think I'm the type of person that reflects a lot, and I want to understand the situation. So if there's a bit of friction, I want to see it from all different sides. And I also think I'm good at putting myself into other people's shoes and like seeing it from their perspective. And then I'm like, look, let me have this conversation with someone. Let me apologize if I need to apologize. And let me just, I think I'm that type of person. I'm definitely that type of friend and family member. And I think particularly when it comes to my tribe and the people I love and people I care about, I want to see them well. And so, I think I'm pretty good at apologizing. But you're really close to me, so I mean, maybe that's a better question for you.
Like, no, that is not true. Still waiting for my apology. No, you are absolutely. I don't think we'd get this close in our friendship if I didn't feel that was the case. So I thank you for being good at apologizing, because I do think it's a very rare trait. And it's so rare that I don't think I'm as good. Like, I don't think I'm as good at saying it as like you are. I'm getting better, but a little voice in my head is like, well, there's very little for me to be sorry for. So that's like my, like, I'm always right, but no, I'm not always right. And I am trying to get better at like saying sorry when I need to. Yeah, so I think I'm a lot better now than I used to be. Or one thing is saying that other people are right. That was something I struggled with for a long time. And this weekend I was really pleased because my brother had, this is so lame, but like, there were 2 Disney films that we wanted to watch. One was Encanto, and I really wanted to watch that because my friends were saying, oh, like, have you watched Encanto? And I was like, oh, it's mystical, I'll watch it. So I was pushing to watch that. And he was like, oh, no, I think you'll like Turning Red more, which is this other film that's come out. I was like, no, I want to watch Encanto. And he was like really, he gave in, but like he was very firm about this opinion. And then he was right. I watched them both and I was like, Turning Red is better. And I actually went to him and I said, you were right. And I think that was like the first time, because of the relationship we have, and like he's very proud. I've then become very like defensive. And so like, yeah. I was quite proud of myself for saying like, you were right. Like, that is actually a bet. Like, I enjoyed it more.
Honestly, it's in those moments, in these like very small moments that we're like, yeah, I've grown. I've grown. When you do it through Disney, you're like, yeah, I've grown in this situation.
But it's funny because with your siblings, it is going to be something through some childish thing that actually this growth happens. So it was funny that it was a blooming Disney movie, because that's how we grew up, watching like Pinocchio and Dumbo and stuff like that. So
Pocahontas, Little Mermaid.
Oh my God, Pocahontas.
Those 2.
Pocahontas,
both mine and I love Pocahontas so much. We should, honestly, we should.
Yeah. Okay. We don't have to answer this, but we can. What makes you most stressed?
What makes me most stressed?
On one of the things, because I feel like, you know.
What makes me most stressed? I think one of them is, you know me, I'm very chilled.
Yeah,
I'm very chill. Yeah.
I concur.
So I think being in situations where I'm like just going with the flow and chilled, and then someone else or other people are like trying to like get me at like, and I understand it, but it's like, I think that stresses me out a bit, because I'm just like, you know, I understand we're all different people, but I think that probably stresses me out a little bit. It's just like, all right, cool. Like, you know, everything's gonna be good. Everything's gonna be good. I think I'm always like that. I think in my friendship circles, I feel like I play that role. It's like, no, we're all good. We're all good. But everyone's coming from the different vantage points, and I get that. So, but I think that's one of the things.
I've definitely been that person that's like pushed you. I remember when you came over last, and like you were like in that place, like, yeah, it's all good, and I was like, what about this? What about this? And you were like, Maya, like, we need to calm down here. And I was like, yeah, you're right.
I was like, Maya, it's gonna be good. It is gonna be all good. I promise you.
But yeah, no,
how about
thank you. Actually, quite a lot of things make me stressed because I'm a highly sensitive person. So like, if anyone knows what a highly sensitive person is, it's also known as a HSP, and Elaine Aron does a lot of work on HSPs. And so part of being a highly sensitive person is there's a lot of sensory processing overload that happens. And so I very easily get stressed. And when I was younger, I was like deemed as too sensitive because people didn't understand that this is actually a real personality trait. It's not a disorder, it's a trait. About 30% of people have it. So I can get stressed like about loads of things. I have to do a lot of nervous system work. And also having trauma makes that worse. So for example, when I'm going to sleep at night, like the guy in the bedroom next door, like sometimes he'll watch TV really loudly, and I literally can't sleep. So I will like knock on the wall and I'll get really worked up, and like things like that where I feel that people are inconsiderate. Like that for me, people being like mindlessly inconsiderate, like where there's another option, like you could just put headphones in. Like if it was like a life or death situation, I understand, be loud. But like, this is not life or death. You're watching some like Bollywood like movie. Put some fucking headphones in, mate. Like for me, I just sit there and I stew, and then I get really worked up, and then I'm like, Maya, is it worth your time and energy? So it always comes down to the energy work. Yeah, inconsideration is the
Yeah,
key of like most of the things that stress me out. So yeah.
I hear that. I hear you. Thank you for sharing that. And yes, it's interesting like being in a relationship with Maya. It's like we're so similar in so many different ways, and then
Yeah,
we have like these little differences, and we balance each other out very well.
we do. Thank God. I mean, I think it'd be terrible if both of us were like especially if both of us were like me, because I think there's so many particularities that I have that like if we both had and then had to like accommodate, it would be really hard. So I'm very grateful that you're like super laid back.
I'm chill, but I am particular as well.
Yeah.
I have my stuff. But yeah, it's all good.
Yeah. Well, then we understand each other because I'm like, yeah, I get it because you're a perfectionist and so am I. And then we're like, yeah, but sometimes we need to like let go of that a little bit. And so that's a whole other thing. But anyway. Oh no, that's crap. Hang on. Ooh, do you have any enemies, Daniel?
Do I have any enemies that I know of? I'm sure I do. I'm sure I do. I feel like that I know of personally, I don't know. I don't know, and I don't think I would give. I don't know. I think it's more energies that I probably are my enemy.
Okay,
But I
yeah.
do think, I think there are energies. But in the world, yes. I hate abuse. So I consider abusers to be an enemy of mine. As someone who has stepped into a healthy, divine, masculine protector role in my tribe for the people I care about and love, and just in general, abusers, I hate abuse. So abusers I consider to be an enemy for me. Oppressors, whether that be patriarchal, white supremacists, like that's what I consider to be like my enemies. And those are who are my enemies. And like, yeah, in the energetic realm, if that makes sense. Yeah. But in terms of people, if I do, I don't, it's not coming to mind. How about you?
I feel like I do.
Yeah, I feel like you do too. I feel like you do too. Knowing you and knowing just in certain situations, I feel like you do.
I do. It's so funny because I'm a very like, I genuinely am quite innocent hearted. Like, and so this is quite funny because I don't know how these things have happened, but I do have enemies and they're in my family. I won't name exactly who they are, but there's two in particular from two different generations that are both abusive and definitely I would say are enemies of mine. Like I think one of them particularly would not like to see me rise or thrive and be happy, and this person was a caregiver of mine growing up. So it's been hard and it's been a confusing ride because I'm like, how have I got these enemies? Like I'm not abusive and I don't understand why, but it doesn't work like that. Like it's not it's an energy thing. It's not necessarily logical. So Yes, I can say I've got enemies.
Yeah.
One day I'm sure I'll write about it.
Yeah, I'm sure you will. I'm sure. We have a lot of books to write, Maya.
Yeah.
Actually, now that you say that, I think there probably is an enemy that I have who's like on the outskirts of my family now, but who you'll know. But that person, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, no, that's no. We don't have time to.
Was it a sex question?
No, it wasn't actually. It was just a very sex question. I'm wondering whether, if a sex question comes up, whether I'll bring it up anyway, just for a laugh.
I know. I figured it'd be one that you pass.
But this one's funny because we've actually joked about this. If you had to write a book, what would it be about?
Oh, so okay. So should we let people like? All right. So Maya and I have this thing. Maya and I are really good friends, and so Maya and I have literally a list of different titles for memoirs that we're going to write, like joint memoirs that we're going to write. And so we literally have a list, and it's like a joke, but also like I think it's also like we probably will end up doing it. I think at some point. But
well, like
so yes, there are
definitely as well.
Literally we have a name for them. Yeah, go for it.
Well, one is like that's abuse because that's our tagline, and that's like how we came to be on this journey where like we pointed out the abuse that each other was going through and just said that's abuse, and then it was this whole thing. And then another one is Unwell, a sexual memoir.
Yes.
Which we'll probably go into another day, but you can pretty much guess what that one's about. I can't remember the others, but there's a whole range of like ridiculous names that we've got. And one day we will do an anthology or an omnibus of like these different ones.
Yeah, 100%, 100%.
Okay. No. Have you ever sabotaged your own success?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, self-sabotage, I mean, I feel like that's something many of us do, you
Yeah.
know? I've sabotaged, I think, and to be honest, I think a lot in relationships, I've sabotaged myself. And, you know, and I think that's a form of success, having healthy relationships. And I think I've definitely sabotaged myself a lot in relationships. I'm trying to think of, and even in my running career, I had a really good running career, but I sabotaged myself in different ways as well, you know? And so as good as of a running career I had, I could have had a much better running career, even still. And there were so many different ways I sabotaged myself. So there are a variety of different ways, you know, listening to other people who you know, who don't necessarily have your interest at heart, you know, trauma, you know, giving into trauma and, you know, and I think the different stories that play in your mind that you create, you know, following old patterns of behavior without course correcting. I think those are all different ways I've sabotaged myself in the past.
Yeah.
And sometimes still do, and having to course correct and stuff like that.
Yeah. I hear that, and thank you for sharing that. It's a very normal human thing to do as well. I feel like that's such a part of our conditioning and programming as well. But yeah, I also have, I think for me, it's more my mentality that sabotages me. I want to hide a lot. Like that feeling of wanting to hide is a sabotage technique, or it's protection, but it's also sabotage. Or I'll tell myself, you know, I used to be worse at this, but like I used to tell myself like I'm not good enough, I'm not good looking enough to do that, or to go out with that guy, or to go for that situation or whatever. It's like my own mind was sabotaging me. So yeah, definitely have sabotaged my own success. In many ways though, because of the role that I now play and the things that I talk about and write about, in many ways those mental health issues have been part of my success. I've turned them into my success, like talking about these vulnerabilities. So in a way, I feel like we can like alchemize and change that energy as well, depending on the situation.
For sure. And like, just to say, like, from the time that I first met you to now, you have grown so much in the areas that you've just spoken about, you know, in terms of, I mean, I remember, you know, if you don't mind me sharing, Maya, like, I remember when I first met you, Maya wouldn't even take a selfie. Like Maya, like literally, like I couldn't take a picture of this woman. Like literally, like she was, you know, you didn't feel comfortable with it, and you didn't feel like you were, you know, you felt attractive or anything like that. And so, you know, and so now to see you just like so confident in who you are and from the inside out, just as confident in who you are. And when you're posting selfies, I'm like, hell yeah on Instagram. I'm like, fuck yeah, you know, because it's like I remember when you just felt very insecure about that, and you know, and for so many different reasons, you know, and so it's just great as your friend to just see you just continue to just grow and blossom, and just it's beautiful to see, you know, the trajectory that you're on.
Thank you, and you were a huge part of that. And you know, you were a massive part of that. And this was only 1.5 to 1 year ago. Like it wasn't that long ago. And I remember Daniel was a huge factor in like encouraging me to put selfies out there, like taking pictures of me and helping me to get out there. And you still are a huge factor. I think coming from a masculine energy, from a male, like it really means a lot to me, because I've had a lot of criticism from men before in my family. So this is a very nourishing energy, this masculine energy that you bring. So you can see the results.
Well, thank you, Maya. That means a lot to me for you to say that. And of course, we're you know, we're journeying together in this lifetime. So
yeah,
anything I can do.
We've turned it into an energetic conversation already.
Of course, I mean, it was always going to be. It was always going to be.
Oh God. Okay. Do you have a relationship pattern? If so, has it tended to lead to suitable or unsuitable partners? We don't have to answer this, but you can if you wish to.
Do I have a relationship? Can you read the question again? Sorry.
Yeah. Do you have a relationship pattern? If so, has it tended to lead to suitable or unsuitable partners?
So my relationship pattern is traumatic. That would be my relationship pattern. Just That would be. It's like it's if it doesn't start with trauma, there's gonna be some trauma that comes up along the way, which is every relationship really.
Yeah.
But you know, I mean, I really have just just spoken about every relationship, but I think that's the pattern. I think if we're talking about it from like a non-platonic relationship, I realized, and I think we both realized, but we were talking about this, but I realized I'm not ready to be in that type of relationship right now. I think I'm getting there, and I think I'm getting closer and closer to that. But looking back on my, whether we call it romantic life or my sex life, it's all been just traumatic, and I think I was very unaware of the different woundings that I was playing out, with the different people I was with, and how different, traumas and abuses were playing out in my relationships. And so, yeah, I just see, and particularly you just see abuse patterns play out, particularly again in my sex life and romantic life. So I'd say that just traumatic, but trauma that's like, yeah, trauma that is just like playing out, and you see it just like, yep, here's that same story pattern again. And people, until you heal it and you clear it, it's just going to keep repeating itself and keep repeating itself. So now I'm in a point where I'm like, all right, let me just stop. Let me put a hold on non-platonic relationships, or romantic relationships, whatever you want to call it. Let me just put a pause on that. Let me work on myself and clear some stuff up. I'm never going to be perfect, but it's like, there's some stuff I'm like, Daniel, you need to address this before you go back into another romantic relationship. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you. And that's a brave answer. And thank you for your vulnerability with that as well. And I feel like hopefully people watching will not resonate that I wish it would that I would wish it upon anyone, but just, I know that we're not the only ones going through this kind of thing. And especially for a man to talk about this, I feel that's very important. So thank you.
Of course.
I have yes, I do. And yes, I do have a relationship pattern. Men who are not, I don't even know how to, I mean this in the least derogatory way ever, but I go for people that don't deserve me, basically, on some level, whatever that level is. Like they're not in their inherent worth as a human. Everyone has an equal inherent worth as a human, but their behaviors and how they express themselves in the world is not matching with my energy. And I go for these people because I've been used to, as I've mentioned a few minutes ago, men in my family being very either emotionally absent or very hypercritical or abusive. So I feel very comfortable with that energy in a man. So I will go for people that are like, just not okay. The last guy was a compulsive liar. And I was with him for like nearly 4 years. So like you, I have taken I've taken a step back to go, what is it within me that is, that can be healed for this pattern to stop happening? Because it's me accepting as well, or making those choices and ignoring red flags. So yeah, all of my partners have been unsuitable, like every single one. Yes. I'll leave it there.
Well, from the one that I've known you to be with, I can concur with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyone who comes up into Maya's life, you're trying to come from like a romantic or non-platonic angle, even if you somehow manage to get through, hell freezes over and you somehow get into Maya's life, you're not going to get past me, because like I am a gatekeeper in that area of Maya's life as well. So it's not going to happen now.
Yeah, and that's because I have asked Daniel to be as well.
You've asked me to.
Yeah, and I want that, because I do need some support, and I think we all should find someone that knows us really, really well and wants our best interest to kind of, help discern blind spots that we may have. And I certainly obviously do. So, got to be honest.
Definitely. Yeah, Maya did ask that. I'm not just like inserting myself.
That's why I made it clear. I was like, guys, don't think that he's just. I deliberately asked that. Okay. This is a bit of a lighter one. If you were in a city and had to choose between a good meal and a bad hotel, or a bad meal and a good hotel, which would you prefer?
So say that again, sorry.
So if you were in a city and had to choose between a good meal and a bad hotel, or a bad meal and a good hotel, which would you prefer?
Ooh.
That's a big
tough.
one. Yeah.
That's tough. I'm gonna venture out and say, I'm going to go for the bad meal and good hotel, because I can just bop to the shop and I can do a little something. Like I can make something happen. I'm not staying in a place that like is no good. I'm not. So yeah.
I'm the same. I don't even need to say anymore. It's the same for me. Exactly the same. Oh, what's the kindest thing anyone's done for you?
What's the kindest thing anyone?
Has
Oh
done for
wow,
you?
that's a, sorry. Yes, my headphones were going in and out. That's why I was taking a little bit to hear you. Sorry. The kindest thing someone's done for me. That's a big question. I want to preface this by saying, and this is something I've been thinking about recently a lot. Firstly, my tribe, who for me, that's the people that my family, my friends, and the people I care about and love who are close to me. The people in my life treat me incredibly well. The people in my life treat me incredibly well. They love me, they respect me, they care about me. And that's because I've cultivated those people. Look, you can't come in my life treating me bad and think that you're going to stay. Like, you won't. Like, you genuinely won't. Now, 20-year-old Daniel would accept that. 25-year-old Daniel would accept probably a little bit less. At 32 years old, there's absolutely no way you're going to come into my life and treat me poorly and think that you're going to stay. The people in my life, including Maya, have had the bar so high of like how they treat me that, yeah, it's just, I look across my family and friends now and I'm just like, wow, like I'm really loved and cared for in my friends, by my friends and family, and respected. And obviously I love and respect all of you all too. So I wouldn't pinpoint the one thing, because all of you all who are in my life and who are close to me, you all do different things in your own ways that show me that you care about me and you love me. I mean, Maya, the way you support me just in everything, like, you know, like I like come onto a Zoom call and be like, Maya, my life's falling apart. And like Maya would literally just be like there and like helping me pick the pieces up and just, you know, Maya's just, I mean, our relationship is just its own thing. And so we need a whole nother Instagram live to just talk about you and I and our relationship. But I think for me, you know, I'm someone who I love words of affirmation. That's one of my strongest love languages. And you know that about me. I love people telling me how much they care about me. Like that hits me in a way that just very few things hit me. Like I'm honestly, I'm a cheap date. I'm a real cheap date. Like honestly, if you write me a handwritten letter just telling me like how much you care about me and what you think about me, and like honestly, that's good. I would literally take that and I'll just be like, yeah, I'm good. I'm actually good. We don't have to do anything else. Like, so I really value that. What I will say though is that knowing that like how I receive love and the different ways that I best receive love, you know, it's not that it's any better, but it's just different. I think it's different when it comes from my male friends as well. Like, I think because with my female friends or my friends who are my friends who are women or identify as women, it's like we're already there. You know, it's like that is just our everyday interaction. That's how we communicate. That's how we engage with each other. With men, in my life, you know, I think this is men generally speaking. I think there are more hurdles to jump through, hoops to go through, mountains to climb, to get to a space where you feel safe to share how you really feel about each other, to be honest, vulnerable, and open with each other about how you feel emotionally, to create that emotional safety, that psychological safety. There's just more to do. So when the men in my life tell me how much they care about me and love me, it makes me feel very good, because I recognize how much it takes how much we've worked at to get to that space. Not saying I don't value it from the other people in my life, but it's a different kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes complete sense. Yeah. And thank you for sharing all of that, and thank you for your kind words about me and our friendship too. I really appreciate that. And I kind of, my answer is very similar. I mean, there are specific kind things that people have done. So one of the things recently that was so kind is when I broke up with my partner and we were traveling, and a friend who is such a dear friend to me, but we didn't know each other that long. She let me come and stay with her, and that's why I'm here in Wembley. And she was so caring and kind and considerate, and it bowled me over, because, you know, not everyone would do that, you know. And so that was like a big gesture that felt so kind and like was so life-saving at the time. But then, like you said, like it's kind of the everyday cultivations. Like for you, I feel like your kindness is so, it's really helped me come back alive, you know, because you hold space for me, you listen to me. I feel like just holding space to like listen to me and believing me and hearing me and validating me is, to me, that's kind. And I feel like that's like a base level thing everyone should do, but it's not in this world. And so I feel like when someone does that, it's like gold. And someone that sees the best in you and wants you to grow, I feel like, you know, that's how I feel about you and your friendship, and that's the kindness that comes through. And like you said, like you, I've cultivated relationships in my life where, you know, there's nothing less than that. And if there is, which sometimes there is, like in certain family members, it's like it's so palpably obvious that it's like, oh, like this is not what I'm used to, and it just feels very like out of sync, you know, and you can see it. Thankfully, you can tell it's not, because now we've built like a baseline kindness and we know how we should be treated. It's like it's really obvious now what is abusive and what isn't, because like,
definitely,
you know, we've cultivated that. So yeah.
Definitely. I love you, Maya. I love you very, very much.
I love you too. And
yeah,
I'm just so happy that we're just doing any of this. So
me too.
Okay, we've got about 15 minutes left, but I can just pick a couple more questions if you want to.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh God, no, that was a sex one, which I'm not going to ask. I don't want to go there.
That'll be another IG Live.
That's a whole other one, yeah. No, I don't want to ask that one either. Oh, who has been a bad influence on you?
Ooh, that's an interesting question.
Yeah.
Who has been a bad influence on me? So this is interesting because of what I just shared, my answer from before. So in general, and again, this is a generalization, all right? I think men have been a bad influence on me. If I'm being honest, I think generally speaking, men have been a bad influence on me. And I'm not saying every single man in my life, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying generally speaking, like from, you know, getting into porn when I was like 9 to, you know, to the way, you know, I, you know, started viewing, you know, sex and women. And it was so contrary to how I actually felt. But because I was trying to fit in, and I take responsibility obviously for my actions and, you know, and for who I was and et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, trying to fit in with other guys, it's just like, and just kind of betraying myself to be able to do that because this is what guys did. And like that whole kind of male coming of age and like kind of story there was back in the 90s and early 2000s when I was growing up. And yeah, it just was toxic and abusive, and so much of it was, you know, and the fact that I needed to sleep with someone by a certain age and like how that needed to look, or, you know, and I just think, yeah, had I just really stuck to just who I was, there was so much work I don't think I would have had to do, you know, but again, being who I was, I got abused so much, particularly by men, for being just who I was. You know, I was much more sensitive than a lot of the other guys were. I cared about people, and I had great relationships with the women in my life. And obviously I was a boy back then, so the girls in my life, you know, and that was seen to be a bad thing, that I actually got on with girls really well, you know, and like, so they were like, you know, you're gay, you're a faggot, because I'm actually just good to people, you know? And so I think being abused in that way, and then them trying to like beat that out of me through their words and how they treated me, that I think was just it. And I remember one time in high school, one of my friends, I'll never forget, one of my friends, she pulled me aside one day, and like, cause you know, I'm like 15, 16 and like in high school, and and like, you know, really good runner, and like, you know, I'm getting like accolades, and then, you know, I started feeling myself, and like, you know, started acting a bit more like the guys. I remember she pulled me aside, she's like, Daniel, don't start acting like the rest of those guys. Don't start doing it. That's not who you are. Like, don't start acting like them, you know? And I was like, oh yeah, like, nah, I'm not, like, it was one of those things where it's just like, nah, you're right. Like, I don't need to go out there, like, treating women badly and like doing what these, like, you know, a lot of the guys did. I don't need to do that. But it's tough because you're just trying to fit in and you don't feel like you have a space, you know? Because I think we all need same-sex gendered relationships. And I think when you're in high school, you're just trying to find your tribe. And most of my friends were girls. And like, I didn't have a lot of male friends. And like, to be in that space, you had to kind of act a certain way. So anyway, I'm going on a bit of a tangent, but that's what I would say, if I'm being honest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you for your answer. I hear you, and that makes a lot of sense, and it gives more insight into how it was growing up as someone who identifies as male as well, and how difficult that is compared to, we have it difficult as well, obviously, but it's just different kind of difficulties. So yeah, thank you for that. I would say whenever I think of the word bad influence, I feel like it's people who then you started copying or acting like, and I don't think I have had as much of that, but I have had bad influences where people have made me feel worse about myself, and that is still an influence, right? So like, yeah, I mean, like men, I would also say, like, not all men, but a lot of men, just because of the way that they've been programmed and conditioned through misogyny and patriarchy and porn and that kind of stuff. So that influenced me in the way I felt about myself. So that for me was a bad influence. Whiteness, like, you know, like whiteness coming through white people, because there's a difference between white people who that's a neutral situation, but white supremacy is obviously the toxic energy that is, you know, infiltrating that and dominating. So like white supremacy energy coming through people, that's been a bad influence, because then I started internalizing racism and hatred towards myself. Yeah, like certain cultures, like, yeah, I mean, I don't watch a lot of like, I don't watch any violence, because that's a bad influence on me, because it literally upsets me. Like I can't function as well. Like, so I've kind of cut off a lot of bad influences because I'm very sensitive to some of that stuff. So yeah.
Oh, for sure. I hear that. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for hearing it as well. Oh, okay. So we.
It's our last one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be, but we've got like 10 minutes, but it could be our last one. So.
Yeah. Cool.
Who is your biggest fan?
Oh, wow. That's an interesting question. So it's interesting these questions are coming up, because these are kind of things that I've been like, not that they're fans, but like I know what they mean by that. Supporters, you know.
Supporters.
Well, first and foremost, can't even talk. My parents love me off. Honestly, they have supported me even when they didn't understand what I was doing. They have always supported me, and whether that be through moral support, encouragement, you know, whether it needed to be like material, like financially, my parents have always supported me. You know, my parents financed my entire running career, every other, like playing the saxophone, playing all these things. Actually, growing up, my siblings and I, we all had to play one sport, we all had to play an instrument, and we all had to have a hobby. Like we had to. It was like actually the rules. And so we were like, got to high school, and then we could choose which one we felt strongest about. And I just saw such an investment in my parents in us from such a young age, and like, just, you know, and now like, again, like I'm not, my brother's a musician, you know, I'm not a musician, but I can read music. I'm very musical, like, and that's largely because of like my upbringing, my culture, but also like what I was like, I think being well-rounded in the way that my parents really cultivated us to be. So I would say my parents, but then I would also say there are certain people that I've met in my life that they just fucking believe in me so much. And obviously, Maya, you're one of them. But like, again, that's just separate. Apart from that, and this, I know it's not just these people, but these two, I think these two people particularly, but not just these two people. Max Gibson in Oakland, California. That guy believes in me. I met him when I was 19 in LA. He has believed in me from the moment I met him. Like from the moment we met, he didn't know me from anywhere. He was like, "You're that guy. You're that guy." And don't let anyone tell you you're not that guy. Like from the moment we met, and I'm telling you now, like 13 years later, he believes in me so much. And like he's one of the people that I just like. He just believes in me, like just unashamedly, uninhibitedly, just believes in me. So that's another person I would say. But there are many others. I don't want to just make it seem like there aren't others. There are many others. But Max Gibson is one person I would say.
I love it. I love that your parents are as well. Like because we would all assume that that's what should happen, but it doesn't always. So it's really lovely that you've had that from them, and that's been a firm foundation for you. So yeah, I love it. For me, my mum, she died when I was 9, but she literally was like my biggest fan. I mean, she was sending my work off to publishers like when I was 8, maybe even 7. Like I wanted to be an author, and she was like sending my work off. Like she literally believed in me that much. So that for me, it was like a foundation that I could then build on later on, even when other people in the family did not believe in me at all. It was like I had this seed from her. Yeah. And then when I was at school, I had a best friend called Ruth who absolutely believed in me. I mean, the other day she sent me a message, and it was like a screenshot of her typing my name into Spotify and like all of the different work that I've done. And she was like, "You're a celebrity," like like kind of joking, but also like meaning it. And I was like, it's so lovely that she was doing that. You know, I wasn't asking her to do that. Like we've known each other for years, but her belief in me got me through the hardest times in my life. And then I would say you and my friend Shilpa, that I can think. I mean, there are other people, but like recently, you guys have been like because I see you a lot. I talk to you a lot. You are so you believe in me. You don't put me down. You always believe the best in me. You think I can do more, like, and you believe in that, and it helps me achieve more. So thank you for that.
I love it.
So yeah, that is the end of our session. We hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did. It was actually really nice to do this. Maybe we should do this again sometime. Yeah,
this was nice. It was a nice change of pace.
Yeah, it was. Different energy as well. So I hope you got to know us more and that anything resonated with you guys. And we will, next week, you may receive something different from us because we're actually together. We're actually going to be in Bristol together. So we haven't decided yet what we're going to do. We may do nothing, or we may do something a bit different. But expect to see an EC again, probably in the next couple of weeks, that looks like you would expect.
Yeah. This has been really fun. It's been great to connect with everyone who's listening to this live, or you're listening to it back on IG or YouTube. I hope you've had a good time with us.
Yeah, me too. And we'll see you next time.
See you all. Lots of love.